And, may have to move your bag,
Yeah.
Kathy,
Can do that.
and then.
I have a notebook out too, so I can.
What I'm wishing is that the slides had page numbers. 'Cause all of this is
It's
based on
topic.
page numbers.
Yeah.
And I kind of got lost from there. Did you kind of get lost from the go last time?
Well, I was
Like,
watching
where
this and I was watching topics, and then when I would see the topic changes, oh, okay, now.
Right
this is-
now. it's thinking-
Yeah. Yeah, no, it would be good.
Okay, so we'll do share. Screen. But watch slides. Oh, there is light behind you. Can I move?
Yeah, I was just thinking that door isn't the best background.
I have a big boring.
Did anybody get a online with us?
Yeah, it looks like we've got a couple already.
Judith, Mark just called me a couple of weeks ago and said, oh, when are you gonna do another training? Cause she had watched part of it. And then has to leave, but the audio wasn't great.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, someday we're gonna do this again. And at that point, I didn't really know, so I don't know if she's
Okay.
gonna be on
But
today.
now that we have it on tape, they can watch it. We'll have it on tape.
Yeah, and watch it whenever they want.
Oh, sure. I'd rather just do this.
Okay, excuse me.
I'm so sorry again.
No.
I just want you two in front of the camera.
No, I'll sit here.
We've got 3 people in the waiting room. Oh, Beatrice Garcia, okay. We're gonna,
I also put on there 10:30 yesterday, so
Yeah, that's good.
I think we should wait till 10:30.
you do?
I know, but
Okay.
you don't have to wait. I mean, once we get us set up.
I think we're all set up, though.
Huh?
I think we're all set up. Totally up to you, all you decide.
I don't know, just because I put that on there yesterday, I feel like people may wait till 10.
Yeah, I would. I'd log on at 10:25 if I saw 10:30. And I would be unhappy if it had already been halfway through.
Oh, okay.
So,
Hi, folks. Nice to see you all.
Hello.
Um, you are in the right place for the court watch training. We had told some people to come on at 10:30 because we thought it would take a little bit longer to set up. But we're set up now. Do you want to split the difference and start at 10:15, or you think just go ahead and wait?
I don't know, is that gonna throw people that are here now off?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
did you
If you-
see 10 or 10:30?
I saw 10, but I
Yeah. All right, you gotta do a little preamble, is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Good morning. I believe you're in the. We are gonna go ahead and start our court watch training. I know some people are still coming in. We're gonna go ahead and start our court watch training, and we're recording this training so that we can share it with folks in other parts of the state and people who would like to brush up or see the training for the first time. And here to do our training is Kathy and Mary.
Good morning.
good morning.
morning.
Morning. So questions will be welcome, but we'll let them get started, and I'm gonna go ahead and share our screen. I'm going here and here. And here are the slides. I'm gonna make this, oops. Okay, cool. And I will keep an eye on the chat. And we'll get started.
How do we
How do we
flip
move
the
slides?
pages?
Okay,
Oh,
down,
up
the
and
down
down,
button.
okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Gotcha. Okay, all right.
Go
Good
for it.
morning. Thanks for being here. My name is Mary McEwen. This is Kathy Bucher. And we have been participating in Court Watch since the end of May. So the first thing we'd like to talk about is why we do Court Watch, why we're here to learn this. In May of this year, ICE began showing up in other states and kidnapping people when they left their cases in immigration court. So we anticipated that they would also come to Denver. As a proactive response, we decided to organize a group of people to have eyes on the courthouse, hopefully all the time. Since the end of May, there were at least 10 people that we know of that were abducted at our immigration courthouse, hundreds nationally, which is completely outrageous. But we do think that what we have been doing has been helping, and that possibly the numbers would be even worse if we didn't have a lookout.
Okay, so what are we trying to do with Court Watch? What are we aiming to do? We have several goals, and they overlap quite a lot. One is to educate community members, people who are facing hearings in immigration deportation cases, to educate community members who are arriving for court by handing out information and talking with people as they arrive, so that we give them a small, like a quarter-page sheet of paper that talks about what their rights are in court, and specifically some of the situations they might encounter, and also just to talk with them and let them know that there are people here who are supporting them, that they're not alone as they face this. We want to raise public awareness. We want to share what's going on, and what we're learning, what we're seeing in terms of how rights are being violated, and also ways in which we're trying to support people who are trying to defend their own rights. We'd also like to promote media coverage, which we have done to some degree, because it seems to be one of the goals of ICE, the immigration system, is to keep this as much undercover as possible. And obviously we want to pull the cover off of it and make the public very aware of what's going on, and build awareness of the violations of rights that are taking place and the resistance that we are mounting, and that we believe it has some effect. So what we do concretely is watch and listen for suspected ICE presence, and we document ICE activity. We're not there to intervene or to say, no, stop, you can't take this person. That wouldn't help anybody, unfortunately. But we watch, we document, and we're trying to deter ICE activity. And we believe there aren't any statistics. We don't have any, hardcore proof, but we believe that our presence may be deterring ICE's presence in this one particular federal building on Stout Street in Denver. Oops. Okay, so once you've had the training and you've signed up, you've chosen a shift, and we'll talk a little bit about how shifts work. They're basically 2-hour shifts that run in the morning and in the afternoon. Then these are some things you might want to do to prepare for your shift. Clothing, part of the time, some of us are outside the federal building, and it might be really hot, it might be really cold. So, obviously be aware of what the weather is outside. And then you may also be inside, so you want inside clothing too. It should be fairly plain clothes, kind of loose fitting, not t-shirts with inflammatory messages and things, pretty plain clothing. Have a mask either for your own health or for your, whatever reasons, and a hat if you want that for being outside. You should have your phone fully charged, and you should have your code number, your passcode, whatever it's called, number-based and not Face ID. At least for the time that you're at the court. Once you've had this training and you've become part of the Court Watch network, then you'll be put on the Signal app, you'll be put on the chat on the Signal app. And that's how we stay in communication on site. So you need to have your phone fully charged and you need to be on the Signal app. And if you can, be a little bit familiar with it. So safety planning, we certainly want to hope that nothing happens to any of us or to anybody else. But just to be safe, make sure that somebody outside of the Court Watch group knows where you are and would be willing to receive communication from you or about something that has happened to you, if that would be necessary. So far, it hasn't had to happen, and we certainly hope it doesn't. But part of being well prepared and prudent is to take care of that. Okay. Is this mine? Okay. All right. So as you get there, as you arrive at the court, I'm going to talk first about, so here's the address, 1961 Stout Street. It's between 19th Street and 20th Street on Stout in downtown Denver. There are some pay lots there. It's expensive. And there are 2-hour meters. And there's also an app you can use where you can keep putting money on your meter with an app. So like if you're inside the court building, when your meter's running out, you can pay up your meter that way. When you, so in terms of flyers are the little quarter sheets of paper that we have with a lot of information for people. Those we can only hand out in certain spots outside on the public sidewalk. There's an important differentiation between public spaces and private spaces. And we can talk to people, we can, hang out and converse with people in either public or private spaces if they want to talk to us. If they don't want to, then they don't want to. In terms of handing out flyers, we can only do that on public spaces, which is the actual sidewalk. There's a long covered walkway that goes into the building, and it looks like a wonderful place to stand and talk to somebody, but it is private space. It's the federal space. And there's a large plaza area there too, where there's tables and chairs and things and people hang out. And we can talk with people there, but we cannot hand out flyers. So it's important to have that differentiation in mind because they do keep an eye on us with that. So how do you get the flyers? The first time you come, don't worry about it. We'll make sure somebody else has flyers, but the flyers are available online through the Court Watch Google Doc, which we'll show to you. And then if you're able to print them at home, that's fine. You can also go to the Denver Public Library and they will print up to 100 pages per day for free. So it's a flyer that's in Spanish on one side and in English on the other side. So you could print 100 double-sided copies at the Denver Public Library and then just cut them into quarters. So the first time you go, don't worry about the flyers. We'll make sure somebody else has them. And then you can start making your own collection of flyers. Okay, there you go.
All right, Kathy already talked about parking. But before you park, we would ask you to just drive around the block because one of the things we want to look for is any suspicious vehicles, particularly dark SUVs, American-made SUVs with very dark tinted windows are the ones that tend to be suspicious. There's also a loading dock in the back on Champa Street that we like to check out what's happening back there. So if you can drive around the block before you park and give yourself a minute or two to do that, that's helpful too. We already talked about parking. There are cameras everywhere. There's cameras outside, there's cameras inside. So just assume that you're always being recorded. Both video recording and audio recording. So be careful what you're talking about and where you're talking to people, where you're handing out flyers, because they are watching us on the cameras. Inside, I like to look for those ones like the bottom picture here, because they are inside the courtroom, particularly in the waiting rooms. And if I'm going to get on my phone to text the group chat, I like to walk step away from those cameras so that that camera can't see my phone. You could also purchase yourself a privacy screen for your cell phone as well. That would be a good idea.
Is this me? Okay. Okay, or is this yours?
I think this is me, but.
Go for
I
it,
think
go for it.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. So usually we like to have a lead person. Most times there's a lead person, sometimes no one signs up for that shift. So if there is a lead person, check in with that person. If there's not, then check in with other volunteers that are on site as well. We do have a goal of having one lead and then 2 or 3 additional volunteers. That is not always the case, which is why we need to train more and more people, because the more people we have, then we can hopefully fill a bunch of slots with everybody just doing once a week or so. So together with your lead, if there is one, you determine where people need to be, inside or outside. We usually like to have at least one person outside flyering and handing out information. And then at least one, if not 2 people inside. There are 2 different floors inside, so having at least one person per floor is ideal. If we have a bunch of people, you can actually have people in the courtroom or courtrooms. But just stay in touch with people on the Signal chat and figure out how we can have eyes on all the places we need to have eyes on.
I want to add something that we didn't put in here. The other thing with being outside is as people are coming in to go to their hearings and we hand them flyers, and especially for people who speak Spanish, and it's not necessary to speak Spanish. It's obviously very helpful, but it's not a requirement. But people often ask, so is everything okay here today? Is ICE here today? Because people know what's going on. And one of the things to be really careful about is to not promise anybody anything or assure anybody that no, ICE is not here. Say things like, we haven't seen ICE here today. And that's true. We haven't seen them. We don't know if they're going to show up in 5 minutes or not. But to say we haven't seen them here today, and you can even say we haven't seen them in a couple of weeks, at least right now we can say that. But to say, but just let people know that there are people here who are trying to watch out for what's going on, and that if we have any information, we will certainly share it. Okay, so if you're stationed outside, okay, so you're outside, okay.
If you're stationed outside, your main goal, I think Kathy has already talked a lot about this, is giving our information flyer, giving people the most up-to-date information about ICE, although not guaranteeing anything. Just that, we haven't seen them today, we haven't seen them in a couple of weeks, but we never know when they might be back. So be on the alert is the kind of information. If you do speak Spanish, it's very helpful, but you don't have to. Later in this slideshow, we have some phrases that you might want to take a picture on your phone or something if you don't speak Spanish, to be able to give some of the pertinent information. We also already talked about the covered walkway is federal property, so you cannot distribute flyers there. You can only distribute flyers on the public sidewalk. And sometimes the DHS officers who are assigned to the building will come and tell us that we need to be on public property, such as the sidewalk, to distribute flyers. If you're approached by an officer, it's no big deal. Just keep your cool and tell them that you understand that you need to be on the public property, yada, 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 like, yeah. Here's a picture of the flyer that we pass out. Notice it says ICE may be outside the courtroom today. It also tells people what to do if their case is dismissed, because that's been when they're most at risk, or one of the things we've seen when they're most at risk. Although there have been other situations as well. So again, that's not the only kind of case that needs to be on the lookout. It also has the rapid response number in the upper right corner there. That if there's any ICE presence or if someone gets detained, that's the number to call for them to receive support and to figure out how to connect with their loved one should the worst happen. It's still me, but then the
Yeah.
next one. So here's a picture of I just talked about the DHS officers. They are usually around. There's the commander of them is named Officer Gross, and we've had many interactions with Officer Gross. The vehicles that they use are also often parked on the street. They do say Homeland Security because they are employees of Homeland Security, but they're not ICE. So it's pretty typical that you will see them around, and it's nothing to be concerned about. They are in charge of building security. They are not in charge of detentions or deportations or kidnapping people. We do take pictures of license plates, and sometimes on the dashboards of cars, there'll be some identifying information. We do keep track of vehicles in a separate database, so it's okay if you're stationed outside to take pictures of vehicles, take pictures of officers, just so we keep track of who's around. I think I already mentioned the loading dock on Champa is another thing to keep track of. Particularly if you see any large vehicles that could be used to move multiple people. And particularly if it's on the right-hand side of the loading dock. I think we have a picture of the loading dock. Next, yes, so it's the right-hand side here as you're looking from Champa Street that we're most concerned about. That is the side where we have seen suspicious vehicles go in before, and when the garage doors open, we have seen officers lingering back in there too. The left-hand side seems to be for people who work in the building that aren't involved with immigration. Or, I mean, maybe just people's personal vehicles. There are like 18 floors in this federal building. Only 2 of them are immigration court. So there are lots of federal employees. There are not immigration that come and go.
Okay. Okay, so if you are stationed inside, hopefully the first time that you go, another volunteer will be able to walk in with you and kind of show you around. Hopefully that will happen. If for some reason that doesn't happen, you can still go in, or you can just stay outside and hand out flyers. So the entrance that you use to the court is on Stout Street. It's the covered walkway that we keep referring to. And most court hearings are open to the public. There are a few final hearings, things like that, where people have requested private hearings that are not open, and those we can't see, but the vast majority we can see. So you go in through the main door to the building, and on your right is a security entrance. It's kind of like airports, not quite as fancy, but a metal detector, and you pass your belongings through a metal detector. And they'll ask you why you're there, and you say we're going to immigration court, and they have a notebook where you sign in, and if you want to, you can just put your first name and last initial, and you put the time that you go in. And the best thing is, in my view, is to be polite and courteous with people, keep any conversation to a minimum. Sometimes it all goes very smoothly. Sometimes they can be a little bit difficult, but just, good morning. Yes, I'm going to immigration court. And then you put your things through the metal detector. You can bring your bag in, you can have a notebook, you can have your car keys, all of those things, but they have to go through the metal detector. And then you walk through the metal detector. For those of us who have various kinds of metal in our bodies, they may want to wand you, and that's kind of a normal procedure. Anything that, they might consider a weapon, like scissors or anything like that, be sure to not bring in. And if you have any trouble getting into the building, contact the lead person or another volunteer, and just try to keep it really calm. Most of the people are kind of brusque, but they're doing their job as they see it. Some of them get slightly more difficult, but lately it's been pretty good. But the idea is just to get through security, and then you walk a few steps further, and then there are elevators
that, no, okay, let's look at this first, trouble getting in. Okay, so sometimes they've told us various things, they've let up on some of this, but you never know when it's gonna start again. Sometimes they've told us you can't come and go, like, I've done this a lot, I go up to one of the floors with the courts, and then I wanna go outside and see what's going on, and then later I wanna go back inside. Or if you're outside, you wanna use the restroom, you have to come in and go up to one of the floors to use the restroom. But for a while, they were saying, no, you can only come in once a day. You can't be coming and going. And it's not a problem for anybody. If there's a line, you wait in line like everybody else to go through security and to get on the elevator. But there's nothing that says you can't go in multiple times. And sometimes they give us a whole talk about what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do upstairs. And even if you've heard it 20 times, you nod your head and say, yes, thank you, and go about your business. Senator Hickenlooper's office is in that building, and they're aware of what's going on, and it's unclear how helpful they're being with dealing with all this, but their office is in the building, and we can try contacting them if there are persistent problems. If you're having problems and with entering the building, document it, write it down in the Court Watch chat, and keep track of what's going on. Okay, so now we're inside. So you enter obviously on the first floor. The courts are on 2 floors, on the 3rd floor and on the 8th floor. And the courtrooms are lettered. So on the 3rd floor is A, B, C, D, E, and on the 8th floor is F. One thing to keep in mind is that inside a courtroom, you cannot use your phone or your camera at all. Sometimes the bailiff or somebody gets up there before they start the session and say, okay, everybody turn your phone off altogether. Don't just put it on mute or anything, turn it off altogether, put it away. And they're pretty insistent about that. And it's written in the rules that one apparently is a legitimate rule. You can use your phone in the reception areas and in the hallways sometimes. Let's see what
You
else.
can use your phone, except you can't take pictures.
Cannot take pictures, yes, ever, no
Yeah.
video, yeah, can't do that ever. Okay, so you'll talk with your lead person and figure out where the best place is for you to begin your shift. If on the 3rd floor, on the 8th floor, if you're gonna kind of make a circuit and see what's going on. The way most people start off, especially if you're one of the first people there on your shift, is to go to the 3rd floor, and there's a docket, which is a list of people who have hearings in each courtroom by letter. So these lists are posted on the wall. And what you can see there is which courtrooms they're using that day or that part of the day. And whether it's like a courtroom with just 1 or 2 private hearings going on, or whether there's a long list, it could be 25, 35, 45 names on the list. And what we try to keep track of is the letter of the courtroom and the number of people who are on the docket. And so all you need to write down, either on a piece of paper to start with, or on the Court Watch chat, is like B 25, C 35, whatever the letter of the courtroom is and the number. For a while, they were getting quite upset and telling us that we couldn't write down any information. We don't take down people's names. So that is much more private information, obviously. All we're taking down is the letter of the courtroom and how many people are on the docket. And one of the things that we see sometimes is there might be 25 names on the docket and only 5 or 10 of them show up, sometimes because people are scared to come to court. So, but that's one of the first things to do, is go to the 3rd floor. All the courtrooms except for F are on the 3rd floor, down the hallway from where you go in. The restrooms are also there on either end of the hallway. Or you might be in courtroom F, in which case you go back to the elevator and go up to the 8th floor. Okay, there are security guards on the 3rd floor and the 8th floor. They're contracted security. They're not ICE as far as I understand. They're just contracted security
They're
there.
not even DHS.
No.
They're private security.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see, yeah, so you'll see them there. They change periodically. Some of them are very friendly to us, some of them not so friendly. One thing to be careful of in conversing with them is to keep to a pretty neutral kind of conversation. I don't know what they've been told about us, if they've been told, see what you can find out from all these folks. But just be careful about sharing information. I mean, you chat about the weather, about the Rockies or something, but try not to, I mean, obviously they know where they're observing court and they'll say, oh yeah, that one's finished in that room. Or the other thing that happens is if a courtroom is completely full with people who have their hearings, then we will not be able to go in. And sometimes the security guard will be the one to say, the judge says nobody else can go in or something like that. And we need to follow those instructions. Theoretically, as long as we're, as it says here in this note, as long as we're not obstructing the hallway, we can stand in the hallways. Sometimes they've tried to tell us we can't stand in the hallways. It's usually when they're wanting to do something. And obviously to talk very quietly in the hallways. One, because they're listening to us and because we don't want to disturb what's going on in the courtroom. So those are some of the things to keep in mind in the building. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Kathy already hit on this, that the first thing someone should check the dockets on the third floor hall. And just make a note in the signal chat of which courtrooms are being used. It's very rare that all 6 courtrooms are being used, so make a note of which 2, 3, 4 courtrooms are being used, how many are in each courtroom, what time the hearings are at, and then put that in the signal chat. The reason we put special instructions here is because we've kind of already intimated that we have had some pushback on writing things down from the docket. We were told that we weren't allowed to do that at one point. We still do it. If you get pushback on this, let us know. Some people have done something like look at the docket, go back to the reception area and put it in the signal chat from their phone, then go back to the docket and go back and forth instead of standing right by the docket, obviously writing into your phone. But we think it's a made-up rule. There's been quite a few made-up rules along the way, including a brand new one just this morning. You didn't see the brand new rules that you can't sit within 12 feet of the security guard in the reception area. Because we have noticed that you can sit, if you're sitting in the reception area, the security guard has a monitor that shows you all different parts of the halls and the courtrooms. So it's a good place to sit to watch what's going on. So I think that's why they made a new rule this morning that you can't be within 12 feet. You can still see his monitor from 12 feet if your eyesight's good enough, but so
Yeah, there
anyway.
used to be a seat right just 2 or 3 feet from where the.
We are documenting all these pushbacks and new rules. We call them the new rules.
Rule of the day.
Yeah, rule of the day.
Okay.
So keep track of them.
Okay. 3rd and 8th floor. Yeah, this is yours.
Yeah, so the main objective is to be on the lookout for anybody that looks suspicious and looks like they might be ICE. I think the next slide has some pictures of what we think those look like. If we have enough court watchers to have one in each courtroom, there are 6, but like I said before, hardly ever are all 6 being used. If we, for instance, had 4 volunteers, 5 volunteers on a particular shift, then we would have enough to put people actually in the courtrooms. If not, we would like you probably to be in the reception area just because you can keep eyes on more than one courtroom that way. If there's not enough space in the courtroom, then yes, you shouldn't be occupying seats that should be used by people who have hearings. And so there's also peepholes on the courtroom doors that you can use to see how many people and see if there's space in there. And just to keep an eye on what's happening in the courtrooms. Again, that works for tall people because
The peephole's up really high, as I have experienced, I am sure.
We can set it. Yes.
Okay, here's some court basics. These are the names of the current judges, although sometimes different people come in.
We have had interactions with Chuck, who's the court administrator there, Charles Cuevas. He's usually the one telling us the new rules for the day as well.
And he goes back and forth between being very friendly and being our best friend and being pretty rigid and a little bit authoritarian. And you just kind of have to roll with the punches and try to maintain kind of a neutral stance with him.
We can,
Okay, ice
And
basics.
here's,
Okay, yeah, so this is some of, I don't think this picture comes from this courtroom, but
No.
this is very much like what the ICE agents that we've run into look like and how they're dressed. Obviously not with, like uniforms of some sort that we might expect from law enforcement. But they cover their faces and somebody asked them, I don't know if it was here in Denver or somewhere else in the country. Somebody said, why do you wear masks? And they said they were afraid of their identity being revealed.
doxing is like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that, well, the people that you're kidnapping are not knowing who it is that's kidnapping them and that, they're not just thugs off the street.
Yes,
So.
but so far they've been in plain clothes, yes.
yeah. Okay, so what are we looking for? Let's see, is this yours?
Still, no, this is still you.
Still mine? Okay, all right. So basically, if we see any suspected ICE presence in the building or around the building or vehicles, that like, large buses, things like that. First is to, if you're able to do these things, obviously the first thing to do is use good judgment. Keep yourself safe and keep people around you as safe as you can, knowing that you might not be able to do everything you would like to do. Alert the court watch signal chat really quickly, just say, looks like ICE presence at such and such a place by courtroom X or whatever. And then call CORN, which is this number down at the bottom. This is the rapid response hotline. And then they will send more people out who live in the area, who live close by to come. But it's going to be, because it'll take them a while to get there, to get into the building and everything. It's kind of incumbent on whoever is there at that point to try to support and document as best you can. You don't interfere with what they're doing. It may be very obvious that the one time I saw something go, well, no, a couple times I've seen something actually go down. The ICE officers were out in the hallway. They were there. It was very clear they were waiting for somebody to come out of the courtroom. And then they arrested the person standing right there. So, and you can't interfere. You can document what's going on, take notes. You're not supposed to take pictures in the hallway. It would probably be a bad idea because they'd probably take your phone. But keep track of what's going on, who's involved. One of the things is you can talk to the person who's being taken. They usually get them out of there in literally 2 or 3 seconds. There are some back doors and things that they use. So there's not much time, but you can say in English, and if you can say it in Spanish, tell them that you want to say you have the right to. You don't want to tell people what to do, because that would be giving legal advice and we're not lawyers. You can say you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to tell them you're afraid to go back to your country. But one of the main things to do is take down as many notes as you can about what is happening, where, the people involved. If anybody was with the person who's being taken, try to support them. Try to get information about who the person is who was taken. Just whatever you can get, and make an initial call to CORN and tell them that you're at the federal courthouse on Stout Street and that, what you see going on, and then try to get as much information as you can. And if you have more information, you might want to call CORN back a second time and give them more information. What
Yeah.
else do you
And if you
add?
do witness, I guess, when you get home or half an hour later, write down everything you can remember about the officers, the person abducted, just everything about how it went down when it's fresh in your memory.
And try and talk with the team that's there of court watchers who are there at that point too. One, so that, they can maybe ask questions and help you remember more details. And the other is that this is kind of a traumatic thing to experience. And you'll want to talk to other people about what's going on and about how you're dealing with it. Fortunately, this hasn't happened for several weeks now. And we have no way of knowing what's going to happen in the future, but we want to hope that our presence has something to do with decreased intervention on the part of ICE.
So things that you can ask of law enforcement, and the last abduction that we witnessed, one of our volunteers did go up to each and every one that we suspected was ICE and asked them, tried to get them to identify themselves. They refused. But you can ask and then you can document that they're refusing to give you any of this information. So that's a good piece of information that they're refusing. So things to, and this is from in any confirmer role, you are asking these questions of officers. What's the name? What's the badge number? Identify yourself as a volunteer, that you're not trying to interfere. What agency are they with? They're probably not going to answer you, but just asking and being refused is something as well. Although it is scary approaching them. Well, that's true.
Okay, here's a few phrases for people who don't speak Spanish, and then there are some French-speaking immigrants too, people from a lot of African countries who might speak several different languages from their country, and sometimes also French. So it just depends what what you're able to do. So some people who don't know a lot of Spanish but can, with this written down, can manage to read it. So, are you here for court? Tiene corte hoy? It's a little bit not the most formal way of saying it, but it's the way people say it most of the time. Tiene corte hoy. And if ICE is present, la migra está aquí hoy, to let people know that ICE is there today. We have not seen ICE today. No hemos visto a ICE aquí hoy. And then you can say court is on the 3rd floor or the 8th floor. Corte es en el piso 3 o piso 8. So you could have these on your phone. You could have them on a little piece of paper. Lots of ways that, just to help you perhaps when you're outside meeting people as they come into the building and handing out flyers.
That is a hint we give people, to put these phrases as a picture on your phone, and also put our flyer as a picture on your phone. Because although you can't pass them out inside, you can show someone your phone or a picture on your phone. So of course, sort of skirt around that. You can't pass things out inside, which is a real rule.
Okay. So here are resources.
Here, we have lots of resources. Once you are added to our group, you'll be added to the Signal chat. And inside of the Signal chat, at the top near where the title of the chat that's called Court Watch is, there's a link to a Google Doc. And all of this information is inside that Google Doc. So you don't have to feel like you have to write it down or remember it. And many of you may know many of these resources already. But they are good to have handy mostly for helping families to get resources for themselves. If someone is detained, then giving family members left behind resources to connect with their loved one and figure out where they're being taken and how to help them. There's a lot of different immigrant rights organizations. We personally here are working with American Friends Service Committee, but there are many other organizations that are listed there as well. All great organizations to get involved with if you want to be more involved.
And if you're outside the Denver area, Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition has organizations around the state, and AFSC here in Denver is also working with folks in different parts of the state to kind of personalize this presentation, because this is very much focused on the federal building here in Denver. But the situation is a little bit different in other places.
Yeah. These are more resources. Again, these are all inside the Google Doc, so you will have access to them. And Kathy already alluded to this a little bit, that there is risk involved with volunteering with us, and there's a slight potential for getting arrested. again, that would probably have more to do that if you tried to intervene or interfere with an arrest, you're more likely to get arrested yourself. So just to think about your own risk level, depends on your your demographic category and whether you're in a higher risk group or a lower risk group, depending on your citizenship status, the color of your skin, whether you're in a cis body, all those things that give you more privilege is something to be evaluated when you choose to participate. We do think accompanying people to court, which is not this training, but a different training and another way that you can volunteer, is slightly lower risk than joining us in Court Watch. Court Watch does require you to access your First Amendment rights and put them out there for other people to notice, and the rights of people not to be detained without due process. I think I've touched on most of those things. There are ways that if you have different privilege than white cis people, there are other ways to be involved. We have quite a few folks working sort of behind the scenes on helping organize people, helping with technology, helping get people into the group. So there are ways that don't require you to show up on site, that are ways to be involved and are less risky. And that you need to be prepared that if you witness a detention, even if you don't witness a detention, just being at the courthouse, it's such a dehumanizing place to be and to watch people have to deal with the system, that it's got an emotional toll. Watching injustice is not easy, and the secondary trauma can be real, is real. We do have people in the Signal chat that are prepared to offer support for secondary trauma. And I think that we are.
We need
At
Jordan
the
back.
end. I know how to figure out how to get in here. Let's see, we're gonna try clicking around. Oh, we're back.
Here we
Let's see if we can see the
Chat.
chat. If there's any questions.
Just
Oh, now it
one
went away. Sorry, we're on Jordan's computer and we don't know how to use it. Jordan. Oh, there we go. Click. Okay.
Go to chat.
Chat. Okay. We put questions in the chat if you like. The specific spots you can direct us to that are away from cameras.
That was me. That's specifically, you said, don't try not to be on your phone in front of cameras.
Right.
Do you
Yeah.
go to the bathroom? Is there like a specific hallway that's you can tell us about?
I just look for the cameras. They're pretty obvious when you're inside those kind of half sphere things, and I just try to walk and turn my phone away from that direction.
Yeah, maybe hold
Yeah,
it up to
hold
your
it,
hand
yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, or outside, go across the street,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
because they have cameras outside too, all over the
Mhm.
place.
Are dockets digital online? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know, no, I don't know. There is one link that was just added up there that you can look up an individual's case, but not the docket that I'm aware of. There may be,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good question if anybody knows the answer to it.
Yeah.
Can we also
Yes.
be able to use applications for translation? Yes, Google Translate has been the savior of myself many times.
Yep.
If you don't speak Spanish, or there's other languages besides
Mhm.
Spanish spoken,
Is it
and they
Hopi-
usually have them all together. Like there was one day that was all West African people,
Yeah,
so.
Palau
Yes.
one day, and the other thing to keep track of is if you see people in court and their interpretation needs are not being met. Especially if it goes on a couple of times. I saw a whole group of women who had come from Alamosa And they were indigenous women from Guatemala, and I wrote down the language they speak. And they spoke a little bit of Spanish, but obviously not enough to have hearings in Spanish. And the judge had to postpone their cases to another date because they didn't have the correct interpreter. And it's happened with other people too. So that's something to keep track of. And the organization Remain apparently can try to make contact with them and see if they can help with finding interpretation.
Yeah. Good question. Was the difference between the two trainings? For court accompaniment, you are gonna get a list of specific people who have hearings that are asking for you to accompany them. And so you're gonna be assigned to one particular person or family, and you kind of stick by their side.
You
Yeah.
sign up, they
Yeah.
put the date and time and you say, okay, yeah, I can go on Wednesday morning at 8:30, so I'll sign up for this one.
And you're by their side for the process and sitting in court if there's room with them. Until they're done and get back to their car.
It's probably helpful to know Spanish for accompaniments, right?
Not
Yeah.
essential, though. I
Yeah.
mean, to just
Really?
have somebody sitting there by you, and you can use Google Translate too. Not in the courtroom, but
Yeah,
No, Google Translate is just the written part. Is
Right.
there an audio Google Translate where you can like speak into it?
I think there is,
think
yeah,
there is.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't speak Spanish and I've done court accompaniment and you muddle
Okay.
through somehow. Like,
And
and
just to
people
know
are
that
still
somebody's
super
there with you.
appreciative, yeah.
yeah.
It does make it a little difficult, more
Mhm.
difficult, especially like you're texting the person about meeting up and whatnot, so. That can be a little trickier.
But there's a whole training for that too.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can you text inside? Yes, you can use your phone for anything. Well, hold on. In the courtroom, you can't use your phone at all. But in the halls and the reception area inside, you can use it for anything except the camera and the audio. So you can text, you can take notes, you can show someone a picture on your phone.
And in some courtrooms, before the judge comes in and begins the hearing, you can quietly be texting. And at some point, they will say, turn off your phone, and you need to turn it on.
Yeah. Any other questions? I don't see any more in the chat. Any questions online or concerns or?
I have a question. I'm curious what the circumstances have been for the actual detainment so far. Were these like strictly folks whose cases who had been dismissed, or are they just taking anyone?
We've seen both.
Okay.
And we haven't, and like I said, we haven't seen any for a few weeks, but at the beginning, some were people who were dismissed. One was a person who said all the right things. The judge was really trying to help this particular person see all his options, not tell him what to say, but, you know, say, gee, you know, you do have the option of waiting 10 days to make a decision on this. You don't have to decide right now if you want to close your case. And he finally said all the things that should have given him more time. And he walked out the courtroom door. He was standing right at my shoulder. And I saw him walk out, and I heard the officer say, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest. And my first instinct was to grab him, which was, fortunately, that only lasted about a quarter of a second, because it would have been really bad for both of us if I had acted on that instinct. And I knew, but he had said all the right things, and we were out in the hall thinking, whoosh, okay, he's okay for now, and he wasn't.
Yeah. And
Okay.
the very last detention, which was June 17th, I
think
believe,
so, yeah.
which is it's been quite a while, was the one I witnessed. And those people had an asylum case that was denied. And so when and the judge told them they could appeal, and so they step into the hall to walk to the window to get the appeal form, and in that little space of 50 yards or whatever it is, they grabbed them. They grabbed the husband. They didn't grab the wife and the kid.
And how are they being made aware of the final call in court so quickly? Like, how do they know what has happened?
Good question.
We do think we know, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but we do think we know that when ICE is there, they know who they're there for. They know who their target is. With that last case that I just described, there was an ICE agent sitting in the courtroom with them, which we didn't know
Okay.
later when we heard the family's testimony. So they know who they're there for. So there has to be some sort of collusion between them and the court, the judges and attorneys,
Yeah,
in my opinion. There has to be some,
something's going on.
something, they're,
It's
they're,
not random.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe they're taking people collaterally too. I don't know. But their initial target is somebody that they know who they're looking for.
Yeah, and there was like 5 or 6 of them and they were hanging around for probably an hour in the reception area.
Mhm.
And so, they knew who they were waiting for.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
All right, well, we appreciate you guys coming.
Yes, thank you.
Once you've been through this training, now you can hopefully, I don't know if that QR code works for people. That QR code at the very end will link you to our interest form. Once you fill out the interest form, we do a little bit of vetting where we try to have a conversation with people about who they are and why they want to join us. And then you will be let into the Signal chat where the instructions and the sign up and all of that is. But thanks for coming.
And any questions, it's Jordan's email would be the place to direct your questions.
Okay. There's 2 Jordans, right?
There
It's
is.
Jordan Garcia is the Jordan you want. There's another Jordan that's spelled differently and has an M in there somewhere.
No, there's another Jordan,
Why?
JDYN, and actually that Jordan is the one that's doing the vetting and
Yeah,
and keeping track of the interest forms. So it can be a little confusing.
yeah.
Yeah.
General
Yeah.
questions to Jordan
Yeah.
Garcia.
Okay.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank
Very
you.
much appreciated.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. It really helps.
All right.
Yeah, okay. How do we?
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, we knew how to close it. Well, you can Stop share.
And
Oh, we go to end. Evening, end meeting.